be my Valentine. I just had a voice crack. But happy Valentine to all you guys who decided to come today and watch this video. It's a really good episode. I asked my guys, my angels, to surround us with white light protection, divine love, and accuracy. So we should be fine in terms of protection. It's a little bit different of a live. It's my celestial talk show. So welcome everyone who's new here. Basically, how we do this is just a casual, like almost like a podcast type, where I have downloaded information. That's one of my skills from my angel that they have given me. Is that I have downloaded information, just that that inner knowing, that inner understanding. And so for today's topic that we're going to be talking about is why Trump supporters are most likely serial killers and why that's bad for us going forward. There's a lot of good topics, a lot of interesting aspects that we'll be talking about. But quickly before we do begin, that this is just being live streamed February 14th, 2021 at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want you to close your eyes right now. I have a couple crystals in my hand. I have 3 to be exact. I want you to kind of close your eyes and feel what crystal I'm holding in my hand. This is the intuition. And this is like a way for me to be able to let you know if your intuition is strong. If you get it right, your intuition's good. If you get it wrong, it's okay. Just work on it. This is how we're going to do it, okay? I'm going to help you guys. That's part of the channel. My love to you. All right, so close your eyes and then think of 3 different crystals. If you're going to pick one, that's good. As long as you get 1 out of 3, that's good. All right, close your eyes and do it. All right. Let me just put it in my hand here. I have 3 different crystals. Feel the energy. What kind of crystals am I holding? All right, so for the first crystal, we have the rose quartz. For the second crystal, we have opal in the shape of a heart. Oh, look, you actually see me through it. That's cute. And then the third crystal, we have clear quartz. Thank you, Daphne. Thank you all. Happy Valentine's Day. I love you all. And so for today's video, we're going to be talking about that specific topic. If you got it right, congratulations. If you did not, it's okay. Do not worry. Now, in terms of the notification issue, I talked to my creator support, and they told me what was going on. So it told me that some of you guys are not being notified because it's not properly working. And so as you can see here on your screen, this is a few ways that you guys can be notified from outside sources. So you guys can go join my Facebook group if you want. You can follow my Twitter where I update you constantly, or you guys can also follow my Instagram account as well. Whatever you prefer, I just wanted to give you guys outside options. For some of you guys, you may be having your notifications on, but the phone is not connecting or it's not allowed feature for them to send you notifications. Once I put the link in the description below for Android and Apple iPhone. So, I mean, for any other devices within those realms. So definitely check out the description below. I have all the information that you need below. We're going to jump into it. We have a lot to get through, and I love you guys. And so it's kind of like we're going to be doing some tarot readings, but also not tarot readings at the same time. It's going to be questions revolving around the entire topic. It's only going to be a 30-minute session, and then we'll end it. It's only a 30-minute segment, so don't worry. It's not going to be long. All right, so for the first one, disclaimer, all information I give during this live is simply my intuition, my understanding, and downloads of information from the higher power. Also, please note, I am not a licensed medical professional, all right? I'm not a licensed medical professional. This is just for entertainment purposes only and for educational purposes only as well. Now, the main topic today is why are Trump supporters most likely serial killers? And so let's get into that. We have a lot to get through. I do hope you guys enjoyed this. Just so you know, I did not plan it on Valentine's Day. It just happened to be that it fell on that day. So it was just a little weird. It's like a scary topic, but you got me, so I'm here for you. You got the first one, Pink. Good. Congratulations, everyone. Good. I'm proud of you. All right, so for the first thing that we all need to know is understand is that what I have found over the years, and now this is just my own interpretation on this, is that I have found that during the time when we have more serial killers, now I'm just talking in a broad sense here, the reason why the 1900s has so many serial killers was because they kept locking people up. And so how that basically works is I found out we're all connected to a collective conscious, right? And so when we're all like connected to something, when one person's put away and cannot do what their life purpose is, what it does is it kind of hands the choice to someone else. Meaning that um one of the ways that they do it is okay, so let me just rephrase myself a little bit. All right, so basically this is what I truly believe. It's a little messed up. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. It is a little messed up, but I do believe that these people were designed the way that they were designed, the same way that in every species, I think it's more like survival of the fittest, best put. And so in every species, across any animal species in general, there's always one that always likes to enjoy eating the other, meaning the same one of its own kind. And the reason for that is almost like think of it this way: the bigger the population grows, the more it needs to be contained. It's almost think of it more as like an equilibrium, right? And so I'm just telling you what how serial killers are formed, the basic formation of how it becomes about. And so that is the main concept here, is that when there's a large group of population, what happens is it starts to basically start to trigger something in someone's brain, but they need to kind of limit the population. So a lot of these people are, by design, supposed to be serial killers. And so the reason how that worked is that when during the 1900s they put a lot of these people in a psychiatric center, and because they kept putting these people and locking them up, what it had done is that not only the people in the psych center or the psych ward had serial killers attributes, not everyone outside the psych ward now has those same abilities, because the people that were locked up were deemed never to be able to get out. And therefore, it's the torch has been passed on, which means that the serial killer number keeps growing and growing. And so basically how the nature found this out is that basically most men who are serial killers end up in jail, flat out. And so what we have noticed is that it's now more so or more likely than not that serial killers are now women. And you know, it had nothing to do with women and anything in particular, but it's happened to be that most serial killers are women and they never get caught because they're smart, and they're less likely to be caught because of their own gender. And so, but however, based on scientific statistics in the police academy, this is something I learned in my Christian marriage class, which is a little weird to learn, but a little fun fact anyway, that we found out most women, if you watch a movie, right? If you watch a movie and you're watching a serial killer movie, or you're watching a horror movie, even so, who pulled the trigger? The man or the woman? Most of the time it's the women, right? So the problem here that I have is that it feels like as if it's social programming to teach women to pull the trigger first. And therefore, they have found that all the women in jail are only there because they pulled the trigger or they killed the person. Whereas men, they don't kill as many people; they just beat them up, but they don't have the push to go forward. However, some do, so not all of them. I'm not saying women in general have the killer instinct, but it's more, think of it more as if they need to defend themselves. Really, that's what they're doing, right? And so you're asking yourself, like, why are you talking about this? What does this have to do anything with the topic? Well, good question, because the reason why it has to do with the topic is I'm basically explaining how the formation of serial killers came about. Remember, we didn't have serial killers, but they weren't in numerous numbers because they weren't being put in jail in the 1800s. Only until the 1900s they were being put in jail. And the reason for this is now these killer instincts are in a large portion of people, right, in the 1900s. And when they were released, now it's quadruple the amount that what there were before, right? The amount that was there before. And because of this, what it has done is it has messed up a lot of people's psychological mind. And because of it, it's generational trauma, it's generational karma. And so when it gets transferred over to the new generation, which is the newborn, the people who did the rise and the Capitol attack and a lot of it was psychological trauma. And that's why they were so easily able to be manipulated, because people who are often serial killers are very easily to be manipulated, and because of it is by design. And so the reason for that is that a lot of these people who attacked the Capitol were mentally incapable of being able to contain themselves when there's a trigger. Something like a trigger, like either a word or something, whatever it is, there's a trigger. And the reason why they trigger is because they can't contain themselves. It's almost like a flick of a wrist. Think of it more like they're like a puppet, right? They're puppeteers. They're being puppeted. And so because they're being puppeted, they oftentimes more than not, they often follow the master. They don't know how to think for themselves. So think of it more like if you're a guy, right? And this is a really bad topic that that I want to bring up, but it's a little disgusting, but it's the best way I could describe it. Think of a man, right? When he's in that state of when he sees a woman, for example, right? And it's how about let's go with this? Let's go with his wife, right? He sees his wife, and all of a sudden he just wants to, I guess, do it with, do it, okay, do it. I will leave it at like that, right? In their mind, that's all they can think about, right? But the women is like, I don't want to do it. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. It's kind of the same aspect here. But once they did it, they feel guilty. Like once they finish it, they feel guilty. Now, most people don't know about that, but that is how the men psychological minds work. And so the same aspects for these people, they are not in the right mind when they're in this killer instinct mode. And so it's actually quite interesting to say the least. Because what I have found over the years that as more and more people being released, the more the numbers are quadruple the amount of serial killers. And the reason why I know all this is the fact that I live right next to a psych center. My town is one of the top number 5 psych center wards in the entire country. And so the reason for that is we have a lot of messed up people here. We have a lot of messed up people. I'm not going to lie. And I'm not making fun of people with mental disabilities and mental incapabilities, but I'm talking about people who are incapable of controlling themselves at a time when there's a trigger. And so a lot of these people, murderous thoughts and rage can block out other thinking. Yes, that is correct. That is exactly right. And the reason for that is that Trump has been doing this in the making. This sort of thing in the making. I'll be talking about this in a more deeper sense. And if you, a lot of you guys who have been with me since I started talking about my 100 episode with the symptoms, right? And so basically what I talked about in there is that it feels as if this was a plan in the making since the 2000s. And you know like how they get in someone's mind and they make them think? They make them think a particular way? Well, guess what? What if I told you this? If you look at every Trump supporter and ask them, why do you like Trump? I guarantee you 100% of them, at least 90% of them will say, I like Trump because he says what I'm thinking. But what if I told you that? In 2000, they started spilling out information. But at the same time, Donald Trump was planning to run for president in 2000. But it was running on the Reform Party. And so what they have done is he got on the Russian radar. And because he was on the Russian radar, I don't know why that popped up. He was on the Russian radar, right? And because he was on that radar, he kind of resigned. He like said, I'm not going to run for president in 2000. However, they've been slowly spilling out this information that there was election fraud, that there was vaccine, viruses, wearing a mask, all these things. Think about it. When's the last time that you heard all these conspiracy theories? Well, the best part in time you could put it back is within in the early 2000s, right? All these conspiracy theories kept coming out. So we had the first one in 2000. I think we had the election fraud saying that dead people were voting for Barack Obama, right? The next one we had were viruses and vaccines, and this all stemmed around Ebola and right before, and also coronavirus was a thing in early 2000s, just so you know that. And so there was a lot of this, and so a lot of these Trump supporters think that what Trump is saying is what they've been thinking. But no, what happened is that they've been programmed to believe that that is what they're thinking, but really that is what they're told to think and what to remember. Like JFK, one of the outlandish ones. JFK coming back from the dead, or that Hillary Clinton killed him, or that like the pedophile ring and all these different things. A lot of it has been programmed in the making. So a lot of these people are cheap likes. Trump supporters don't know how to think for themselves because they've been told what to think, which is why Trump is such a likable candidate to them, is because Trump is them. Trump is the one who started this. This is Russia. This is Russian thing. The best way to take over a country. Now, this is coming into the mind of somebody who's a leader, right? The best way to take over a country is to get into the mind of how the people are thinking, get into the parts that scares them the most. And if you talk about a lot of these people who are like QAnon folks and, claim stuff like that, a lot of them claim that they're not cheap, that we are the cheap because we voted for Biden. But no, that's not quite the way. Because if you feel like, if anything, and I'm not just trying to insult anyone here, but if you think about it, if you ever talk to someone from the 1950s, most grandparents and within that time period, a lot of them think the same, a lot of them talk the same, a lot of them act the same. The reason for that is actually that during that same time period, actually during Eisenhower, there was President Eisenhower, they made like a little thing. There was FBI studies and CIA studies with thinking of how to alter someone's mind and how to alter the program, right? Yes, you're right. They were programming the hate. Yes, exactly. That is correct. They were programming it in people's mind freehand. So this is how it was evolving into this hated day. This is an ideology in the making. Hitler didn't just come out of the scene and just say everyone support me. No, this was a thing in the making. Propaganda is a big thing, right? The same thing with the flu shot. People are feeling scared of the flu because of the vaccine, being told of the microchipped. People, and I don't want to crap on anyone's religion here, but some preachers, not all of them, but Christian preachers have been preaching that when you take a vaccine, it's the mark of the beast. Okay, so now think about it for a second. A Christian preacher is preaching that they're the mark of the beast, but yet they're supporting, Trump. Not all of them, but most of them are supporting Trump. A guy who doesn't even pray or doesn't do a lot of those things, and it makes a lot of sense. Homosexuals are not allowed in the Christian Bible. That's not true. That is not true. It actually has been converted over to pedophilia. It was the original contact with pedophile. Then they changed the name to homosexuals to hide up the pedophilia that the priests and churches were doing at that same exact time. So it's more of a marketing tactic. But again, they use the Bible to lock people up, to sell people's daughters, to sell people's sons. They use this type of thing. And the reason why I'm talking about it is because a lot of Trump supporters are within the Bible Belt, right? And so, the thing is, a lot of people often forget is that, they're like, well, I believe in Jesus Christ. Christ is going to save me. No, honey. No, he will not. And here's why. There's two different types of Jesuses. There's Jesus. There's energetically the energy of Jesus, right? However, there's two different types of people, two different methodologies, two different paths where people are following, right? So for the first path is following in Jesus' light, following what he was supposed to do, being a good person, caring for others, loving each other. That's Jesus' light. That's just Jesus' shadow. What a lot of these people in positions of power following Jesus' shadow, like making sure that Black people don't have voices to speak, making sure slavery happens, making sure people get underpaid, not caring about viruses. Those are things that within Jesus' shadow. So there are two different avenues that people can go in. And as you can see here is that, it sounds like you're talking about the CIA experiments to program people to kill Saran, who killed RFK. Once I'm interviewed on 60 Minutes and they floored me, they got the wrong guy. Yeah, they often do. It's quite interesting to see because a lot of this is scientific experiments. They've been doing a lot of illegal things, and I just gotta quickly put this out here. And so oftentimes a lot of these people, if you look at a lot of, particularly white people, right? If you look at a lot of their grandparents, and you talk to my generation, you talk to them about their grandparents, a lot of them are going to say they're racist. A lot of them are going to say that these people think the same, that they don't know better. Well, quite frankly, if you really look at it from a broader perspective, these people have been programmed to think a particular way. And so it's quite honestly not surprising that people who are Trump supporters are more likely to support Trump because of the trauma they have been put through, the trauma they have been told. They've been told lies. They've been fed lies. But also, one thing also to note is, why do you think Republicans do extraordinarily well in states and districts and congressional districts where the people in the majority are uneducated. The reason for that is if the less likely you educate people, the more likely you win to be able to oppress them. What you got to do is, the first thing you got to do is, and this is in the mind of what they're thinking, right? The only way that you can be able to get your agenda through is you must get them in a fearful state. And when you get them into a fearful state, they're more likely to vote against their interests. So that's the problem with a lot of these people, that they're voting against a lot of their interests. They're voting against a lot of it. And the reason for the Capitol riot is it's not a big surprise. Yes, there are serial killers in the making. The problem with that, the reason why it's more dangerous is that it's dangerous. It's not just one person anymore. It quadrupled. There was probably about, if I were to do an estimate, probably 1.2 million, 1.5 million people there at the Capitol. 1.25 million. Imagine just for a moment. About an estimate, a spirit angel, what number? Okay, so they gave me 15%. 15% of the U.S. total population are serial killers, and by all the giants, right? And so if you have 15%, about 5% is about 3.6 million, and the 330 million people in the United States, it will be around equivalent about 18 to 23 million people in the United States who are serial killers. What makes a lot of sense, because for Trump supporters, the more you interact with Trump supporters, for every 10 Trump supporters, there are 2 of them who are serial killers, just by design. And so the reason for it is that they are being programmed to think about that, being programmed. That's why you have to be very careful with the Trump supporters that you're talking to, because some of them can get so aggressive that they will literally kill you on the spot. That's why it's very scary. Like sometimes when I do the channel, I'm worried that, someone may find where I live and they might come after me and stuff like that, because the point is that these people are so mentally not unstable, so mentally not there, that they are willing to do whatever it takes for the Lord and Savior. And by Lord and Savior, I'm not making fun of Jews. I'm making fun of Trump, because quite frankly, they all think Trump is their God. By design. If you ask them, they're like, Trump was being brought down here by God. And the reason for that is they've been programmed to think that. They go to church. And sometimes the church tells them that, this person, this thing, and they idolize this man who doesn't even go to church, doesn't even like them, said that they're disgusting. And, I don't think Jesus and anyone right mind would even say that these people are disgusting, because he loves everyone equally. Trump does not. And so the reason why I'm talking about this, why it was a very interesting topic, to say the least, is that, yes, Trump supporters are most likely serial killers, and it's by design. The problem with that going forward is that if we could keep this up, this is up, guess what? It's currently standing against the 15%. My guys tell me 15%. Within the next 30 years, it's going to be 30% of the U.S. total population. 30%. That would be quadruple, which means it increases the likelihood of another Capitol riot or another Civil War-like agenda. That's the problem. A lot of people need help. They are traumatized to the core, and it's in the making. It's been something that's been done in the making. Because think about a lot of these people who are, saying, no, Trump is saying everything I'm saying. Well, quite frankly, all that comes down to is it comes down to the programming mark. A lot of these people have been told what to believe. They've been told what to think, because a lot of all these things came about around Obama time. Obama was going to be a Muslim. He was a Muslim in office. All these ideas came around Obama, but it wasn't Obama who did it. It was partisanship. That's when the partisan divide. It was something that was in the making, and because of it, they did it successfully. The problem is, it may end up with us in war. And the reason why I say that is because if you look at the statistics and you look up how long a civilization lasts for, I bet you right now you can look that up. How long does a civilization last for? Guess what? It said 250 years. The United States, as it currently stands today, is 244 years old. Right? 244 years old. Guess what? In the next 6 years, we may very well have a civil war, and it's not out of possibility. I mean, we are the most divided we have ever been since 1960, but even more divided than the Civil War. And so it is not out of question. A lot of these people, and the problem is that we haven't addressed the situation because of the corruption that took place in the White House. And by that, it's 2727. So if someone want to look that up for me, definitely please do. It's an angel number. I don't know what it's all about, but Remember one thing, we are the most divided at this point in time. The thing is, the reason why I've been trying to push this narrative that we need to go into the fifth dimension is so that we don't witness what the destruction of the United States, the destruction of democracy as a whole. Because quite frankly, someone was saying this earlier on my channel is that, well, the United States, why are they treating the United States like a third world country? We're a first world country. No, we're not. We're not. We only know why the United States is a first world country, and it's basically by design. We have the most billionaires, we have the most millionaires in the United States, and therefore, when a country has a certain amount of money, it's considered a developed nation. The U.S. is a developed nation. However, it is not really a developed nation, right? And it's 2828. And so look up that English number as well. And we have here, so anyway, basically best part is that the reason why like Africa and African nations within Africa are more likely to be than not first world countries, first world developed nation. The reason for that is that if you were to ask an African in Africa, right, and ask them, well, what happens if you lose your house? They say we don't lose our house because I pay for it. A lot of the way African countries do their thing is that they don't have credit. It's either you have cash or you don't have cash. That's why people deem Africa as the continent of poor people, but they're really not. They're actually the smartest people on the planet. And the reason why I say that is because they don't have credit. And so if you cannot pay for your car, your house, your job or whatnot, if you lose your job, you lose everything, right? In the United States, that's how it works. However, if you live in Africa and you pay for like your own home with full on cash, I just saw 29, so that's something interesting. I keep seeing 3 angel numbers in a row. But people in Africa, they pay for their own houses, they pay for their own car, they pay for everything with cash, meaning that they owe the government nothing, which is why if they lose their job, they won't lose their home. That is the good part about Africa. They're not a third world country. They're actually, by design, the first world country. But you are told that they are a third world country because the people in their own countries don't have cash or they don't have cash. But that's exactly how America used to be in the early days. America used to be you have cash and you pay for your own home. And if you don't have a job, don't worry, you won't lose your home because you paid it in full in cash. In the United States, you pay partial for a long duration of time. So if you lose your job within that long duration of time, you get kicked out. That is the government scam. The government's scamming you to pay more money. And if you can't pay, they'll say, oh, well, kick you out. And then someone else goes in and they start paying for another 30-year contract. That's how they make more money. It's a scam. The capitalist is a scam. And listen, I'm telling you this now. I'm not preaching like against capitalism or anything like that. But the United States by design is their world country. Think about it for a second. We have no laws against corruption in the United States. We have corruption is basically illegal. They can lobby, they can do whatever. It's because we don't have laws in the country. And the reason for that is that the way the United States and founders have made the Constitution, what they made it so that the minority can always have the power. Think about it for a second. The founders, the founding fathers, what are they? Racist, slavery owners, the rich white old men, educational, stuff like that. And so the reason is they, at one point they banned women. They couldn't vote. They barred black women and men from voting. They made sure Native Americans couldn't have the right to vote. They made sure, what else? That people who didn't own land couldn't vote. So a lot of this all by design, right? So think about it. Within the next 30 years, the United States, and more so the reason why the Republicans are not worried, and you should be worried about the Republican Party, is because the Republican Party is doomed to have the Senate control and win the the House of Representatives within the next 30 years. By my own data, my own interpretation of everything, the Republicans will have both control of the House, the Senate, and not so much the presidency. That might be more likely to be in the Democratic hands, but that's not out of question either. And so the reason why you're like, well, why? Why are they going to have more likely to have the Senate and the House of Representatives control? Well, guess what? So just say 44 million people live in California, right? It has 54 electoral votes, right? But only have 2 senators. Well, someone from Idaho only has a population around 500,000, but yet they have 2 senators and 1 representative. two representatives, right? Well, guess what? Iowa has less people, but has more power than the people in California, right? And so, therefore, if you add up the numbers of how many populations in terms of how many states Democrats win, they win on average around 25. But Republicans win around 30 states. So if all they need is to hold on to 30 states, and each state had two senators, right? Well, guess what? If the Republican Party holds on to 30 states plus all those two senators per state, guess what? They win the Senate by 60 to 40, meaning that the minority will always have the rule. And that is by design, because they wanted to make sure that going forward that, the two-third compromise, slavery and stuff like that happened, because that's how they wanted it, to make sure that they have control over it. And so if you really think about it going forward, the two-third compromise, and this is my own interpretation, and just this, right? I feel like the two-third compromise was used for people who are here illegally, as they say. So they're not counting those people. Therefore, the states have a wrong population number, right? They're misrepresenting those people. However, not only also that, I also noticed is that a lot of these people at the same exact time, what else? I just find mind freeze. I just find brain. Yeah, especially in the South. Yes, that is correct. The Republicans are crazy if they want us Black people to unite with them. We do not want to unite with white people. Yes, I completely agree. I completely agree to one degree. But one thing I will certainly say though is that when two people unite, they're a lot stronger. You don't want to unite with somebody who doesn't have your best interests in mind. Unite with people who have your best interests in mind, right? So we are all trying to make sure that, going forward, and, the way I would have done it is I would have made sure, if I was like, someone in a particular state, I wanted to make sure that all these people were equally represented. But that's not how it goes. We have gerrymander, which is why more likely than not, the House of Representatives, based on my statistics, are more likely than not to go to the Republican Party in the 2022 midterm. Because guess what? The Democrats, I blame the Democrats for this. And here's why. And hear me out, okay? So the Democratic Party ran on elect Joe Biden, but don't elect Trump. They did that, right? However, but they didn't advertise that if they lose control of the House of Representatives and they lose control of the Senate, guess what happens? Or they have a limited minority in both the House of Representatives and the Senate. They lost the governorship, state legislators. Guess what happened in the state legislators and governorship? They have control of how you're represented. So come the 2022 election midterm map, all they have to do is gerrymander two different districts, and guess what? You are no longer represented. You're put into the small little black group of people who are a large portion of the Democratic Party, and then they split up a little one into large portions to the Republican Party so they gain more seats. But guess what happens? You lose the House of Representatives, even though a large portion of the Democrats won the House of Representatives by they won by 77 million to the Republicans 72 million, so it's about equivalent of 5 million, right? And so that's election map. But guess what? Joe Biden won by 81 million, but yet 81 million didn't come out in terms of the House district. And guess what? Why that's problematic is that you are being misrepresented in the next election. And guess what? That map stays for the next 10 years. And the people who win that next map, guess what happens? They get to remake the new one. So the reason why the Democrats have not played dirty, and the reason why it has cost them in both the House, the governorship, and the state senate. So when it comes forward that these people, your allies, are no longer being power. So the more people who go into these blue states, right, the less likely you're going to be represented. Less likely. It's a high chance. I mean, 11 million people voted in California. 6 million Republicans voted in California. But guess what? 11 million could be spread out through the rest of the states. And that, he could have won North Carolina. He could have won Florida. He could have won Texas. But all of it, the more you're in one area, the more likely you are to be misrepresented. And so that's why I know it's a crazy topic that I was moving around, but it makes a lot of sense. And I'm just talking about the danger moving forward. We have a big danger ahead of us. And that's why I'm getting my European citizenship, because we don't know what's going to happen. But just know that this is just for entertainment purposes only, and I love you guys. And I'll see you guys in the next video. All right. The next tomorrow is going to be talking about we're going to be talking about statehood in DC and Puerto Rico. And then the next day after that, actually, I'm going to look up the plan right now on my thing. The next day after that, we're going to be talking about the Republican Party break from the Trumpism party. So we'll be talking about that on February 16th. And then on February 17th, we'll be talking about the 2024 election and all the candidates running and stuff like that. So it'll be pretty interesting. It's all live streamed. So up until Wednesday, everything's live. You'll be notified a day before when that video is up. So just constantly check my channel because I'll have it like with the thumbnail, everything and stuff like that. You'll know exactly what we're talking about. But I love you guys and have a very wonderful night. Thank you for being with me. And I'll see you guys in the next video. I love you and have a beautiful night. Happy Valentine's Day, babies.